Hi guys, my name is Alan Clark and I am the Strategy Manager for the Americas with Ayyeka Technologies. Today I'm going to be presenting the Ayyeka FAI platform, that's Field Asset Intelligence Platform. And just before I jump into that, I'm just going to give a very quick overview of how the system works. So we do provide an end-to-end solution. We manufacture the data loggers that have got an inbuilt battery, an inbuilt telemetry system, and an inbuilt memory that actually collect the data from any of your sensors in the field. We're sensor agnostic. We can connect to almost any sensor on the market. On the platform, our tools and features allow you to manage your data. And then for data utilization, okay, we can create reports for you and we can connect to other third-party softwares such as SCADAs, etc., to work with your data further in other applications. We have three options for the hardware. We've got our intrinsically safe hardware for explosion proof areas. We've got our standard device, and then we've got our cost optimized device for very simple applications. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in now and show you the details of the FAI platform. So when we log in, we're presented with this dashboard, and here we have our data visualization and data reports. We have our map insights and Insight Explorer. We have our dashboards where we can see multiple parameters across multiple sites. And we have our apps, our WaveCam app, which is our place where we can view the pictures taken from the integrated camera. And the rest are all a kind of project specific, so we won't go into those today. So let's look firstly at visualization. Our data visualization tab loads. We can view all our different deployments. Remember, the Ayyeka wavelet devices have their own inbuilt GPS, so we can see all our different deployments in real time. So we can zoom in here to get more information from our sites. If we click on here, for example, it loads up all of the stats, the most recent stats from each of the sites. We can see here on the pressure, we have an alarm. We can see our battery, internal humidity, cellular signal strength, GPS strength, and all our different feeds from our different sensors. We can also go over here and pick our sites individually and look at individual values. We can look here, for example, at a depth. And so this is in inches. We can view the data historically. We can change the data range. So going out to 6 months. And then if we decide we want to look at a particular event, we can zoom in as so. Next, let's look at reports. When our reports function loads, we can select the site that we want to look at. So we can look, for example, at drinking water quality. We can look at, that's a wavelet device. And then we can look at the actual stream we want to look at. We can select multiple streams. And we can select the date range, say all of this month so far. And then we hit export. You can also save this report configuration. For example, weekly report. So when you come back next week, you just simply hit this symbol and it will load up the configuration that you want as so. So that's a very convenient feature. There's also different features here for doing sum, average, minimum, maximum, and different ways to filter your data to get a more simple report. You can also do flow rates if you are using flow totalizers, and then custom stream history reports. So there's a lot of report features in here for more advanced users. Now let's look at our device management. We can once again see all our devices, and this gives us the option to make changes to our devices. We can click in here, or if we know the device we're looking to work on, we simply select from our list of wavelet devices, which are all named. And then here we have our different options. So the main option is the transmission frequency. So this is how often we update the data on the platform, or how often we send a data transmission via the GSM signal to the Ayyeka platform. We also can change the frequency of the actual measurements. So number one is the transmission, and number two is the frequency of the measurements themselves. In order to change the transmission frequency, simply click here and drag the cursor to the desired frequency. Regarding changing the sampling or the measurement frequency on your sensor, we look at a depth. You can click here and we can change the sample frequency. So this is how often we would take a sample in seconds, remember. So for example, if we're measuring the water level on a lake, we might want to look at that maybe once every day. And then if we're looking at the water level in a process tank, we might want to look at that every 10 seconds. So that's up to your application. A very important factor we need to mention with relation to the sampling and the transmission frequency is how it affects the internal battery on the wavelet device. The internal battery has the capability to do approximately 3,000 transmissions. The transmissions generally take more energy because the device has to wake up, connect to the network, and carry out the actual data transfer. The sampling generally doesn't take as much energy because the sampling is carried out in milliseconds, generally approximately 300 milliseconds for the sensor to wake up and take its sample. So we're not powering the sensor all the time. We're only powering the sensor for that very short burst every 10 minutes or every 20 minutes or every hour to actually wake up, take the sample, and everything goes back to sleep. So in order to calculate how long the system is going to last, we do have a spreadsheet which I can share with you. But the basic rule of thumb is that the device can carry out 3,000 transmissions. So let's look at this depth sensor input. And this is the engineering conversions. So this is our raw value. And here we have carried out the conversions necessary. This is where you can do your scaling and your conversions. We also got the feature that if you, for example, are reading some values for a month on a trial and you find that there's an issue with your conversion calculation, you can actually go back here and apply the correction to your historic data. The final value, we can set our limits. So we can set, for example, if we're talking level in a tank, we will never have below 0. And maybe if your tank has got a height of 2.4 meters or 240 centimeters or whatever, here you can set your limits. So here in device configuration, we can configure the thresholds. So we're looking at a water tank here. The tank has a capacity or a depth of 3 meters. And we can look at this data in the tabular or in graphics. But the most interesting is what this client has set up for controlling their alarms. So when the water level is below 0.5, the client wants to receive an alarm. That's a critical water level alarm. When the water level is below 1.5, they want to receive a notification that the water tank has a low level. And then once the water level is above 1.5, that's the normal range for this tank, and they don't want to receive any notifications. So this here allows the client to send text messages to the driver, for example, when the tank is very low. It sends a text message to the dispatch team when the tank is getting quite low, and then nobody receives messages when everything's normal. The next feature we're going to look at is our account management. When we click here, we are presented with the account access. And so here we have our users. You can see that I'm currently the account owner. We can create user groups. So for example, let's use the company Coca-Cola. they will have maybe an operations group, a maintenance group, a security group, a logistics group. You may want to create different groups, and you will be sharing different sets of data with those different groups and different levels of access. Then you can create organizations. So here we can have a set of wavelet devices all in one organization. For example, with Coca-Cola, they might have their Texas operations, their California operations, their European operations, and we can create these separate organizations. And so it gives us options to share the data in different ways. In account preferences, we can upload our company logo. This will customize the interface for you just a little bit. You can share your own account, and then you can see the status of invitations that have been sent. Invitations expire after 3 days. So let's look at just adding a new user. So we click on here, we type in their email address, and we select if we want them to be an owner of the account or a specific organization. Remember, let's say Coca-Cola Texas. So here you can select the specific organization when you have it set up. And then here we give the account role. And here you can see the different levels of access. You may want to, for example, just give people access to receiving alarms. You might want to give people access to just viewing the data. You might want to give people access to editing the platform, or maybe an engineer, you want to give them access to actually adjust sensor parameters. So it's explained here in a basic sense, but also on the help portal, you have a lot more information about that. So generally, you're going to be looking at an account analyst who's able to see and download the data and see the basic details. And here we submit. Once we submit, that person, as I say, has 3 days to accept the invitation. Another very nice feature I want to discuss is our dashboard. So when you click on dashboard, here's one I've set up earlier, and I've just given it a name, operations overview. This allows you to set up an overview of your whole site or your whole account. And here we can see our different wavelets. I've programmed this in to show your battery levels. I've set some thresholds that when a battery level is lower, it shows up in red, etc. So that's a very nice feature for just configuring your different devices in a visual manner. I've also set up here our thresholds to see when we've got incidents. So another very quick and easy way to see what's going on your site. You can pull in some key factors from your different sensors, and this might be something you would keep live on your large screen in your plant room or in your operations room, and you can just get a very quick snapshot of everything that's going on. To briefly touch on integrations. So this feature allows you to communicate via the Ayyeka platform with other third-party softwares, such as a SCADA platform, a GIS platform, a historian platform, or some sort of other modeling software you want to pull in real-time data to. So here we can generate an API key. And so once you click on here, you are walked through the process of generating this key, which is a kind of like a password that you'll put into your software to allow communication with our software. The process is very well documented, but at the same time, it's quite a complex process, and that's something we can do for you as a service. So it's on a case per case basis. So now let's look at one of my favorite tools. This is the Data Curator. This has the potential to save companies a lot of time and effort with working with data. So what this does is it helps us fix up issues, well, identify and fix up issues in our data. So this is our test site, and we can see that we've got 6 affected sites, so 6 affected wavelets. We've got all these issues, we've got all these high priority issues and mid priority issues. And those The configuration of those issues can be set by the user. So you can determine if you want to have data gaps flagged as issues, out of range values flagged as issues. You determine your ranges, erratic reading, sensitivity, flat line detection. So if we lose data altogether, how many points are considered a flat line? And we can adjust this according to the specific needs of our sites. We can look here at the different sites. Let's look at this flow site, and we can see that the green, according to our specifications, say the data is good. But we can see here we've got a flatline issue, and we've also got a missing data issue. So let's look at this missing data issue in more detail. So here we see the issue. It's highlighted once again in yellow to show us. And then it's given us the different options for the fix. We can do just a linear fix. We can come in here and change to a quadratic fix. We can change to a cubic fix. And this is the most interesting one. This is a seasonal fix that's generating data based on historic trends. So the seasonal fix obviously looks best here, so we can apply this. And the last app I'd like to show you is our WaveCam app. So we supply a waterproof camera that plugs straight into the wavelet devices. And once you've got that hardware, you can click on this app and add it. It's quite a straightforward process. And then remember, this is a demo site, so I'm showing you a live view from this site. You can configure the frequency at which we take these pictures, and those pictures can also be triggered on an event. For example, if we had a water level sensor here, we could trigger the camera when we detect water in this chamber. And it's very nice to be able to check the real-time situation, because, for example, if we were to have to send a crew out to the field or to open an emergency floodgate, it's sometimes difficult to make this decision just based simply on the data from a sensor. Also, I find this is an excellent tool for QA/QC on flow data in a very critical site. For example, if you've got a river where you've got a water level sensor, and you could point your camera at your staff gauge, and with this here you can do QA/QC on your site without the need for sending people up there to actually check, is your sensor okay, is everything in order, is everything calibrated. So a lot of options to save money and save time with this simple little camera device. Last but not least, I'm going to show you the help section. So click on this question mark here and you're presented with the help section. The help section covers everything from the hardware, the different options for deployment, your training videos. So here you can find all of the resources you need for managing your project on a daily basis. And if you want to make some adjustments to features such as your WaveCam or your dashboard or your transmission frequencies. And it's just like Google here. You can search, for example, users, and you're presented with all the different options related to users. Viewing the list of users, for example, you can come in here. There's a very easy guide to doing so. You're given then more options related to users, for example, thresholds and alerts. You can click on these and get all of your different information to support with solving your issues. Some of them also have some illustrations, some videos, some how-to tips. So yeah, a really helpful section, and I recommend before you start stressing out and trying to get help from your supplier, you just quickly search here, and you'll be generally able to find all the information you need to solve the problem yourself within minutes.